before Double Dragon and before Renegade, there was a scrolling beat-em-up game developed by Takashi Nishiyama and released by Irem called Kung Fu Master, or Spartan X as it was known in Japan. Kung Fu Master was heavily inspired by the 1972 Bruce Lee movie Game of Death, as you control a Kung Fu Master called Thomas as he battles his way through 5 floors of enemy ninjas on the way to save his beloved girlfriend Sylvia from the clutches of the evil Mr. X. Sound familiar? As Thomas ascends the tower, he has to fight many enemies along the way and 5 end-of-level boss battles, a concept inspired by Game of Death. Thomas and each boss have a health meter, and the game temporarily becomes a one-on-one fighting game during boss battles, as well as being massively popular all over the globe. Kung Fu Master was an influential game that had a significant cultural impact. It is regarded as the first beat-em-up brawler and an early example of the side-scrolling character action game genre, which became popular during the mid to late 1980s. Shigeru Miyamoto's work on the NES port inspired his development of the side-scrolling platform game Super Mario Bros., while Nishiyama was hired by Capcom, where he used the game's boss battles as the basis for the fighting game Street Fighter, before working for SNK on fighting games such as Fatal Fury and The King of Fighters. Kung Fu Master also influenced other media, such as the Red Ribbon Army saga of the manga and anime series Dragon Ball, as well as the French film Kung Fu Master. Looking back at Kung Fu Master, it seems so simplistic in its design and gameplay. The visuals are sort of strange. The backgrounds are so bland and repetitive. But this is actually a fairly genius move, as the backgrounds require less memory, leaving the focus on the sprites, which were a good size back in the day. Although the animation was always a bit choppy, the fluid movement of the kicks and punches were decent enough. But honestly, compared to other games around at the time in 1984, this game stood out really well. The sound was, well, not the greatest. Most games of this era never did have really decent sound, and Kung Fu Master definitely does sound like a game from the early 1980s. The sound Thomas makes when punching sounds screechy at best. The sound when kicking or striking an opponent sounds like someone unrolling a layer of tinfoil. The sound of the Mr. X laugh between levels was awful as well, but let's not dwell on that. The gameplay was great. When I was a lad, this game would always have a crowd round it whenever I seen it in arcades, or when the shows came into town. I guess it was something so different at the time, and young players couldn't get enough of that martial art combat action, which was going crazy in the UK round about this time. The combat didn't stand up to much. The one-hit enemies were merely fodder, but it's the end of level bosses that made this game really stand out, as each boss encounter then became a sort of one-on-one fighter, and if you lost, then it's straight back to the start of the level for you. The closest thing I played to this up to this point was Karateka on the Commodore 64. A game that had fantastic animation, but the moves were a little complicated to pull off at times, and the combat was a lot slower. Kung Fu Master kept things simple in terms of visuals and combat, and this simplicity is what made Kung Fu Master stand out more than Karateka, in my opinion. The big question was, would Kung Fu Master on the Commodore 64 be better than Karateka on the Commodore 64? When I got Kung Fu Master for the Commodore 64, I remember thinking it was just like the arcades. Now, that might seem like a bit of a stretch now, but visually, this is a great port on the Commodore 64. In terms of presentation, it all seems to be there. The animation is not as good and the sound is every bit as bad as the arcade version. And I like how the Commodore 64 version has its standard explosion sound when Thomas dies. Bit of lazy coding right there, I think. But the playability is all there for sure. And that's what really matters with these games. And I had a blast playing this back on the Commodore 64 for this video. And it's the memories that come back. The ones that seem to be stored in the back of your mind that you forget about until something triggers them. And for me, Kung Fu Master is one of those games. It always invokes great memories of my childhood growing up. I am sure other retro gamers have differing opinions on this game, but in my opinion, Kung Fu Master is a great game, and not just for the gameplay. The impact it has had on video games should not be understated. The mere fact that this game inspired two of video games' greatest franchises ever should put this game right up in the Video Game Hall of Fame. Retro games produce a tremendous feeling of nostalgia for me, but when playing them back, I appreciate more the historical impact these games had as well. If you take them out of context now, and play them as if they were just released, of course they wouldn't rank very highly. But if you were around and played these games as they came out, you could almost see the evolution of genres. The move from Karate Champ to Kung Fu Master to Yi Kung Fu and then Street Fighter is obvious. And then realising that I grew up in that generation of video games where history was constantly being rewritten on the path to greatness. I feel truly blessed and feel sorry for an entire generation that have grown up on Call of Duty or FIFA, as they really have no idea on what they missed out on. Anyway, sorry for the nostalgic rant, I can get carried away at times. But if you like this video, then please do give me a sub and a thumbs up, or even a comment or two below. And a massive thank you to all of those who have subscribed and commented already. It really does mean a lot. That's all from me, folks. Thanks for watching.